Hey everybody, welcome back to Hunter's Hockey Hurricanes podcast. Again, I am Hunter. Welcome to the show today. So I've been out for a little bit, just trying to figure out, how I kind of want to structure this podcast. I'm not sure if I want to do like a once per week type of thing or a every game type of thing. It's probably going to depend on my schedule for right now. For at least for right now, if you want to watch the content, make sure that you click the like and subscribe button. Also, hit that bell notification. So if I do have a surprise podcast in there, and I do, more than once a week, you'll be able to know. So yeah, always make sure that you have that there just in case I do change something up at the last minute. So with that being said, let's get right into it, right? So the Hurricanes, what a weekend it was, right? From going back all the way, so I'm recording this actually on the 13th. So it's Wednesday the 13th, going all the way back to Thursday, which I believe was either the 8th or the 7th. I believe it was the 7th, actually. Um, you know, we were all, wondering what the Canes were going to do along the trade deadline. And obviously, it's not new news now, but it is, very exciting news as a Hurricanes fan to see that we, made some moves. This is something that we don't usually see from the front office of the Hurricanes, going after big names, such as who I called in the last podcast, Jake Guentzel, who I said we need another guy that can score the puck. Jake Guentzel being the guy that I was talking about. And not only that, we got another bona fide guy that has proven himself in the playoffs, Evgeny Kuznetsov. I think, so far, even though both of those players do not have a point in the games that they have played so far, with I think Kuznetsov playing his third game with Carolina and Guentzel playing his first game last night against the Rangers, I think we kind of see that already. Even though they haven't contributed points-wise, there's definitely a flow that we haven't seen before. It's almost as they've taken it up to another level. Now, yes, they did not score a goal against the Rangers. What does that tell me? Not much. I mean, the Rangers, and we'll get into this a little bit later, kind of going into the games that have happened since then. The Rangers are obviously the first team in the Metropolitan. We're the second team. And it was very evident that, they were two good teams on the ice last night. I'm not too worried about that. Again, we'll get into that later in the podcast. Again, I want to kind of keep these podcasts to about 30 minutes in length. I think longer than that is, a little too long. Like, I wanted to do a longer one for my first one back just because I had a lot to say. I had missed a whole bunch of time kind of, doing what I had to do to get this house straight, I was getting married, everything like that. I wanted to kind of set the record straight there and kind of recap the year that we've had up to now. But yeah, I mean, the trades couldn't have, made me more happy. I think the willingness to go out there and finally say, like, hey, it's our year. Like, let's go out there and play hockey, right? Let's get the best product on the ice so we know that we did everything in our power as a front office to go win this cup, which I think we've lacked lately, where we've kind of just stuck to our guys. And not that our guys are bad, right? Our guys have gotten us to the Eastern Conference Finals in the second round of the playoffs, 4 out of 5 years in a row, right? So I'm not complaining about sticking with our guys because I do think there's an element, in a locker room where sticking to your guys is a great plan because you're telling them that we don't need anybody else. But I think it was evident and I think it was evident around the fan base that we do need somebody else. Michael Bunting was great while he was here, and I wish him all the best in Pittsburgh, but he wasn't going to be that bona fide guy to get us over that hump, right? That we have been wanting to get over for so long. That being either the second round of the playoffs or eventually the Eastern Conference Final going into the Stanley Cup, right? We want to get there at the very least. I think that's where our expectations are at now. We want to at least get to the Stanley Cup, and we very much want to win it, right? If we don't even get to the Stanley Cup, well, it's kind of like, well, we got there without making these big trades, which, by the way, we didn't really even give up that much in my eyes. Great job by Don Waddell in the front office there, kind of getting those deals done in a way that we really didn't give up a ton of top guys. I thought at the very least getting Jake Gensel, a guy like Marty Necas was going to be involved. Maybe even a Jack Drury. Somebody like that. A Kokoniemi. You know, I don't even know. Just the all the different scenarios kind of start playing in your mind of what, you know, when you get that alert on your phone saying Jake Gensel is now a Carolina Hurricane, you're kind of thinking in your mind, well, yes, I love that. I love that news. He's the goal scorer that we've needed, but I hope we didn't get rid of one of our top guys that is needed. And I kind of went, you know, the last podcast went in on those top 5 guys. Those top 5 guys being, in no particular order, being Sebastian Aho, Andrei Svechnikov, Seth Jarvis, Marty Necas, and then lastly, we talked about Teuvo Teravainen, right? So I said last podcast that we needed 6. We need two lines of forwards that can just go out there and score, right? And we went into the fact Teuvo Teravainen has the highest shooting percentage. He's the better when he shoots the puck. Kind of how Aho, you know, you can see when he's mad Aho, he's at his best. Andre, obviously a sniper. Marty Necas has an uncanny ability to just move around the ice and, you know, get people off balance, get defenders off balance. I mean, those are the high-skill guys on our team, and we had 5 of them, right? Those are the guys where when times get tough, when you need a goal, those are the guys that you're wanting to kind of step up and be those guys that are going to try their best to get into the middle of the ice and make a play and put one in the back of the net. And I was saying we needed another guy. And I listed Jake Gensel, and look what happened. You know, I'm 1 for 1. 1 for 1 there. That was really the only guy I was looking at that I was like, yes, this is the guy we need, because he is the only guy in my eyes at the time, and I didn't even look at Evgeny Kuznetsov as somebody that was going to be traded at the time. But at the time, Jake Gensel was that guy who's done it in the playoffs over and over again, and we've seen that through his point production in the playoffs. I think it's 58 points in 58 games, which is nuts. And Evgeny Kuznetsov, too, a huge role in that 2018 push by the Capitals, right? Me living in Virginia, kind of not necessarily being towards the D.C. area, but, you know, just being in the area, you know, kind of, you know, seeing the local team do what they did in 2018. Even though I am not a Caps fan, obviously, it was kind of neat to see. And Evgeny Kuznetsov was right in the thick of things, you know, had very good point production in that series against Vegas, and ultimately led them to win in 5 games, right? So along that playoff push as a whole, not only the Stanley Cup, but those 2 pieces that we got. And are going to be top contributors, hopefully going into the playoffs. I couldn't be more happy for what we got, and more importantly, what we gave up in return for those guys. Um, yeah, I can't tell you how excited I was when I felt almost like a kid in a candy store. Like, I've got everything I want. This is fantastic looking. And not to say that other teams didn't get better too, but it seemed like everybody around the league was saying how much these other teams got better. How much, you know, I don't even know, the Oilers got better, or the Predators, or whatever the case may be. I can't even think of the teams that they were talking about. But, like, I was shocked to see that nobody was saying, man, Carolina got better. And they were, maybe the problem was we're already really good, right? We already made the Eastern Conference Finals basically with the team that we have now, besides a few pieces, right? Maybe that's what they were saying. But you can't say that the team hasn't got better with adding a bona fide scorer to that team. It's just, you can't say that they didn't. It's crazy to think that Carolina wasn't one of the top winners in free agency. And obviously that's coming from a biased perspective, but I mean, to take a great team and make it into an elite team, they needed that goal scorer, right? And everybody said they needed a goalie. I think we have two bona fide goalies right now, just judging on what happened last night with Kochetkov and Freddie Anderson, what he's been able to do since he's came back. I think we have two guys. I think we have our tandem going into the playoffs. I think they're just going to get stronger as we go through. They're both making strides at the right point in the season, right? You want to see this last 20-game stretch where they're just, having great game after great game. And by no means was it Kochetkov's fault that we lost last night. He allowed a shot that went off Brady Shea's foot into the net. I mean, there's not really much he could have done about that. Maybe squared it up a little bit more. But I'm not faulting him at all for what happened last night against the Rangers. Just the past couple games in general, we'll kind of touch on those. With Thursday night playing against, I believe it was Montreal, having a 4-1 win there. But, every Canes fan in their back of their mind wasn't necessarily thinking about the game, especially towards the end, just because there were so many trade rumors at the time during the game. I know I was checking my phone during the game just to see what was going on in the talks. Michael Bunting sitting out of this game because he's in proposed trades to other teams. It was just very on your toe. You were on your toes the whole time, and it's a good thing that the Canes got a win, because honestly, I wasn't paying as much attention to the game as I was paying attention to my phone to see what kind of players we were going to get, because I was definitely hoping that we were going to make some moves, and we did. That night, after the game, probably about 2 or so hours after the game, we got the news that Jake Guentzel was officially going to be a Carolina Hurricane. And again, can't tell you how good it felt for that news to come in. That's who I said we needed. We needed another guy. And he's another guy. I really do think he is going to be that. And I'm not going to put a whole lot of weight on what happened last night. He was very close to scoring. I mean, he was right along the net. He wanted to flip it up over Shesterkin's shoulder, but he hit the side of the net. He was that close to scoring in his first game with really no practice with the team so far. That just tells you how much of a knack for the net that he has. He's just a goal scorer, and that's what we need. We just needed a guy that would go out and score. He doesn't have to make that many plays. Just go shoot the puck in the back of the net. and I think he can do that, as good as anybody on the team, if not better, right? So very happy about that. For Montreal, um, we went to New Jersey, and that is where Kuznetsov made his debut. Um, he gets the win with New Jersey in a 4-2 victory there. Very close game. The Devils made a good push. I think it's kind of sad to see what the Devils have become just 1 year after we play them in the second round. Because they've just had goalie issues. And I said even last year when we were in that series with them that their biggest concern was not their scoring, even though we held them pretty well. It wasn't their scoring, it was their goaltending. Their goaltending was atrocious in that series, with basically every game us scoring at least 3 to 4 goals. I think even in the game we lost, we scored 4 goals. They just scored 8, so it's not something that you normally see, but even in a loss, we scored 4 goals, so we averaged, I think the first game we had 6, second game we had 6, third game, that's the one we lost, we had 4, fourth game I think we had 5 or 6, and the fifth game we may have only had 3 that game. That was a very closer game for sure. Three goals with the last one coming in overtime there. But like just that goes to show just how not great their goaltending was. And at the time, we were concerned about us scoring goals. So, to let a team that is very concerned about scoring goals, letting them score 6 in a series, not get that backup that you need from your goalie. That's just what they've been going through this year. And I think, they've kind of gone through it in some ways. And, I'm not going to spend too much time on them, but it is kind of sad to see. I thought the Devils were, kind of in tune to kind of make another push this year, with, all of their pieces coming back that they had. But seems not to go that way. Nothing on my mind, really. Not really worried about them, as I'm worried about the Canes getting to the Stanley Cup. And then we have the home game on Sunday, where the Canes just absolutely dominate the Flames. I mean, up and down the ice, it was all 3 periods for the most part. I think I didn't even watch the third period, so it may have been just the first 2 periods. I'm going to be honest, I don't even know if I watched the third, because of how dominant they were in the first 2. I think after the first period, it was 2-0, I believe, and it should have been more than 2-0. We were all over them. I mean, it felt like we had the puck the whole entire game, up until that point. It was kind of just not a lot of back and forth. It was Carolina hemming them in their zone and us shooting the puck. I don't know if they may have gotten 1 shot in the first period, and it wasn't really like a great chance at all. That just goes to show you kind of what game that was. I think we scored 4 goals in the second period. It was 6-1 going into the third, and they score 1, we score 1 in the third. So it ended up being a 7-2 game. Just kind of, a game that we just absolutely dominate, and that's something I love to see, especially right now, especially when your new pieces, Kuznetsov, he showed what he could do in the first game against the Devils, right? In that first period, he had a tremendous first period, making plays, showing off his passing ability that I think he has an uncanny ability to do, and that's going to free up some players going going into the later stages of the season and the playoffs. Um, I think seeing him, go out there and play the way he has in these last three games is pretty good to see. I think he may have had a tough one last night. He may, if I'm correct, he took two penalties. Um, I don't have the stats to back me up on that one, but I believe he took the first two penalties of the game for Carolina. So he may have had a tougher one last night, but overall the amount of I feel like he's created chances, even more than we usually get since he's been here, and he's only been here for 3 games, and that's very exciting to see that a guy that we didn't even know we were interested in is kind of somebody who's coming in and taking a hold of that second line center position and kind of turning it into a real bona fide scoring part of our game. It's just great to see. I've always kind of had a thing for Kuznetsov ever since, like I said, he's been in Washington for so long now, and being a hometown kid in Virginia, it is kind of hard not to see how the Caps are doing and how they're playing. And Kuznetsov has always been one that I've kind of loved to watch, and to have him on the Canes now is just so nice to see. Yes, he's having a down year for sure. But that's with the Capitals. The Capitals are not a good team. We are a way better team than they are. I think we create a whole lot more chances. And I think we are going to give him everything that he needs in order to, pick up that production that we need from him, and do everything that we need in order to make a big playoff push. I'm just really excited with Kuznetsov. Gensel, we just haven't seen as much yet. But again, even in the one game that he had pretty much one of the better scoring chances that we had all game, right next to Shesterkin. Again, I'm not really upset by the game. We can go into the game now, from yesterday. I'm not really too upset about the game from yesterday. Shesterkin was on one, He was just having a game where I think, most of the time against other goalies, we probably scored 3 or 4 goals. He was saving everything, and so was Kochetkov. It took a bounce off of our own guy's foot to get it past Kochetkov. So it was definitely a goalie's duel last night, and it ended up being that, we got the lesser of the bounces towards ourselves, which I think for sure anybody watching the game would say, yeah, the Rangers probably deserved that after the first period. They were definitely the better team in the first period. I think we definitely picked up our game in the second and third periods with a lot of scoring chances that I think we could have, converted on. But it just was what it was. Shesterkin was making the saves, and, some of those goals probably go in, 7 times out of 10. They just didn't last night, right? So it is what it is. They have an elite goaltender, and from what Kochetkov showed last night, we do too. We just didn't get the bounce that we needed, right? They got the bounce, we didn't. That's what it comes up to in hockey sometimes. I mean, anybody could see it was a tight game. The score was 1-0. They scored 8 seconds left in the first period, and then there was no more scoring the rest of the game, right? So they could tell from both sides it was a very tight game. I think overall the Rangers probably did play better. But again, we had our second line as mostly the new guys. which was very interesting to see kind of how that would mesh together as Kuznetsov and Gensel playing on the same line in Gensel's first game. Just kind of seeing how, because we're such a defensive-minded team, how that would kind of translate in their game right off the bat, right? Playing on the same line together. And I think they did, for the most part, a pretty good job. I think that, we just needed a bounce, right? We just needed one bounce. And I think if we had gotten one past Shesterkin, we probably could have gotten more. So really, I'm not too overly worried about that. Of course, you want that game to be, closer to them in the Metro Division. We're only 6 points behind, so we have a good chance still. But of course, now we're going to need them to lose a few while we win a few, right? So no big issues with that. Yes, I want to win, but it's not going to happen all the time, especially in the regular season, right? Once it's playoff time, don't want to lose, right? We're not in the business of just losing a game because we weren't playing good that game, right? That can't happen in the playoffs. Regular season, I'm a little bit more okay with. Okay, I'm trying to see if there was anything else that I really wanted to get into right now. I don't really think so, but again, I'm very happy to see that Carolina has gone all in this year to kind of go chase that cup. It's a thing that I feel like other teams have done and have, it's something that I think we needed to do eventually to kind of get over that hump. And I'm really hoping that this is the year that happens. Kind of get over that hump, at the very least, get to the Stanley Cup, which is crazy I'm even saying that, considering kind of the history that we've had. But, Rod's taken this place into a new dimension of, what it used to be. So it's just really good to see that. Yeah, man, I'm excited. I'm really excited for the rest of the year to kind of unfold, see who the first round matchup is. As of now, I believe it would be the Philadelphia Flyers. We would have home ice advantage there. And yeah, I just want to see what happens, man. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun final bit of the season here. I'm as confident as ever. I'm as confident in this team as I've been ever. I think they've made all the right moves that they've needed to do. And like I said, now it's on the guys, right? The past couple years, we could have probably blamed front office if you wanted to. You probably could have blamed, you definitely could have blamed the players, in the past as well. But I think the front office has come out this year and said, we're not taking any blame. We got you your guys. We got you the guys that we wanted to. It's up to y'all now to go win it. And that's what I want them to do. Go win it. There's no team out there that you can't play with. So go out there and be the better team on the ice. A lot easier said than done. I get it. A lot easier said than done. But we have the pieces now. I feel like we have the pieces to go get the cup. And I want to see them raise it, man. There would be no greater feeling than to see them raise that cup after the end of the year. But yeah, that'll be it for this one. We're right about 30 minutes. Perfect. That's exactly what I wanted to do. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Again, if you want to keep watching these, that's great. Please hit the like and subscribe button so you never miss anything. Hit that bell notification so if I do post a video, during the week, I want you to be able to see it. Guys, thanks so much. You have a great rest of your day. Let's go Canes, baby.